This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, everybody, welcome to the WWE Podcast. It's time to talk WrestleMania Night 2, just concluded about 15 minutes ago, and my God, what a main event. I think it was a main event that delivered on a lot of levels. Do I think it was a bit overbooked? You could make that argument. Do I think the right person won? Absolutely. While the crowd was in unison in support of Cody Rhodes, and understandably they were, I was expecting a bit more of a split crowd, and that wasn't the case. The love for Cody continues, and he came up short. And a lot of those people in the audience were disappointed. A lot of them were frustrated. A lot of them frustrated probably at the company at this point, not even at Roman, but I believe the right person won, and I'll get into the reasons why and break down the match and why I thought the match was really good, but also a bit wonky at times. Not that there were botches, but more of just kind of maybe things that didn't need to happen. Shane McMahon made a return and blew out his knee. So that's a thing that happened. I don't think anyone saw that coming. We had Omos and Brock Lesnar. Guys, we're going to break it down, all right? I'm flying solo tonight, I guess pun intended, unintentionally, and we're going to get into all of it in just a minute. But first, if you are joining us for the first time here on the WWE Podcast, we are the unofficial WWE Podcast, as we have been around for, 6-7 years now, podcasting total for 9 years, and I would like to invite you to join us on Apple Podcasts ad-free. You can go ad-free there if you click the subscribe button, get a week for free, and you can also join us on Patreon at patreon.com/WWE Podcast. For those of you that are interested in ad-free, you can also do our website, www.podcast.com, go VIP. Okay, so the main event, let's just jump into that. I'm not going to keep you guys waiting until the end here. Okay, I thought the match was, my God, the effort was as every match has been, except for Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, which I guess was by design, was amazing. The effort from both Cody and Roman was second to none. Do I think that there was an over kick out of finishes? Yes, but it is WrestleMania. That's expected. I guess I wouldn't have such a problem with it. Overall, I mean, up and down the card, it was, I think, something that's overused, but it's overused throughout the rest of the 11 months of the year. So I think that when it happens here, it happens even more of an egregious level. And with Cody attempting the three crossroads, he hit 2 of them, didn't he? And then he was going to go for the third, and then that's when Solo Sikoa showed up. And I mean, well, Roman popped up like he didn't just receive 2 crossroads and then hit the spear. That was a little bit weird to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but he just received 2 crossroads and then popped up. But hey, that's really the only kind of head scratching moment in the match in terms of logic from both men. But do I think the Usos needed to be involved? I mean, we've seen that for 2.5 years. So really, this match was no different than any other match that Roman Reigns has had, except Cody pushed him to the absolute brink of defeat. I mean, he came the absolute closest out of everyone, the long list of those who have fallen at the feet of Roman Reigns, more specifically the Bloodline. And that's the point. I mean, the point is, coming out of this, if you're a Cody Rhodes fan and you're disappointed that he lost and you're angry, well, number one, this isn't going to be Cody Rhodes' only time to, quote, finish his story, okay? There's going to be many other times. This isn't the only chance, okay? So there's that. And Cody Rhodes, coming out of this, proved to us he can main event WrestleMania. He cut great promos up to the show. He felt, most importantly, like he belonged in the main event, which doesn't always materialize on paper, and it definitely in execution worked for Cody. and he delivered it like a maniac in the ring, and he always seems to do that. So that's a good thing. And again, this is in a defeat. He still won. I mean, I know it's a moral victory. It's more of a perception victory by fans, and really a statement that Cody Rhodes has arrived. That I think was the main goal for Cody in this loss. And winning in a losing effort in pro wrestling is something that you need to learn how to do quickly. And Cody Rhodes is going to be just fine. Okay, the way that he lost, the amount of interference on Solo Sikoa's behalf, the Usos getting involved, all of that. Certainly you could make the argument that without the bloodline, Cody Rhodes would be champion right now, no doubt. So, those that are worried about Cody Rhodes shouldn't be. All right, so that's first and foremost. Secondly, and most importantly, did you guys really think WWE was going to sacrifice the 1,000-day reign of Roman Reigns? And by the way, the 1,000-day reign that happens to just coincide with a Saudi Arabia pay-per-view the day of his 1,000th day, that very day. Do you think that's by design? Right? I'm not calling anyone stupid, because there was a period of time that I was on the boat in the camp of they're probably going to go with Cody. They're going with Cody. They clearly want Cody. And so I don't mean to be insulting to anybody. I really don't. I've been wrong way more than I've been right. But when you look back at what WWE loves, they love themselves milestones. They love nice round numbers of statistics. And I think we all do as human beings. It's pleasant to look at, easy to understand, and kind of an odd number, right? So they got 945 days out of the 1,000. That was his 945th day today. That's essentially 95% of the way. You really think that all of the things that they can do with the 1,000-day reign, a documentary that will live forever. And by the way, cameras are following Roman Reigns around everywhere. If you didn't know that, that means they are filming right now for his documentary for the 1,000-day reign. And this has solidified. I don't give a damn what happens at Backlash. Okay. I don't even care what happens in Saudi Arabia, because in Saudi Arabia, that will be the final hurdle for him to say that I'm officially the 1,000-day champion. So really, it's over. The 1,000th day is going to happen come hell or high water. I don't care if Randy Orton comes back, if The Rock comes back, if they both come back together. It ain't going to happen where WWE sacrifices that 1,000th day. I have been saying this for months and months and months that the 1,000 days is in their sights. Okay? Now, with that said, you are a bit, and I am a bit disappointed that we didn't get any major returns. Okay, outside of any Miz segment, which, okay, fine. You want to call Pat McAfee and Shane McMahon a returns, and they are, but not the ones we're looking for. I know I wasn't. I didn't hate it. It was just surprising. The Shane McMahon one was the most shocking, even though he lasted approximately 4.5 seconds in the ring before he blew his leg out. And I thought that was a work. From what I understand, it's not a work, and it wasn't supposed to happen. And they were just kind of going on the fly, and we had Snoop come in there and lay out The Miz with some bad punches, but I'm not getting on Snoop. He's not a wrestler by any stretch. But then he did something that like a 15-year-old kid would do with his friend if they had access to a pro wrestling ring, and gave him the worst looking people's elbow of all time. I mean, does he think that the ropes are electrified? I mean, he didn't even try to bounce off of them, and it was the weakest looking. I mean, it was embarrassing. That to me is what Snoop did, and I'm only crapping on him because it was on the fly, and it's deserving of this, because this is what people think of when they bring in celebrities, and that's what it has been in the past up until recently with Bad Bunny and Logan Paul and others. Is this kind of embarrassing nonsense where wrestlers just lay out for the incoming celebrity. And that's exactly what happened here. It was like a throwback to those times, and that was bad. But if this is legit, they had to go on the fly. They got to do what they got to do, right? The Miz had to lose there, so fine. But that's really the only fly in the ointment, and I hope Shane's okay. I'm sure that he's super disappointed, and hopefully he recovers quickly, but that looked like probably a torn, I'm just guessing, torn ACL, MCL. I mean, when he twists your knee like that, whoosh, so best of luck to Shane in recovery for his, 15-second match. But outside of that, getting back to the main event, we are living in Roman Reigns' world, right? And I think we can all breathe a sigh of relief whenever that 1,000th day passes, because then it's game on. And that has been, I think, their mission is to get to that 1,000, get him through WrestleMania 39, get him to Saudi, and then maybe get him to SummerSlam where he could really lose it. Or Money in the Bank in the O2 Arena overseas. Absolutely. That crowd's going to eat him alive, right? So there are real possibilities. Just get to the end of May, and we can start seriously talking about Roman dropping the belt. Because I'm sure there are so many contenders, right? Jey Uso, I'm sure, is a strong contender in the next couple of months as the bloodline may fracture. Randy Orton is a strong contender and probably the most likely contender if you're asking me. But even Randy Orton in a return, it'll be fun to see some RKOs and make Randy believe he could win. It ain't going to happen for Randy. Why? Because Randy doesn't need it at all. Like, Randy doesn't need it in any sense of the word. I mean, Randy Orton's career is solidified in Hall of Fame glory at this point. It's over. There's nothing you could do to hurt or help his career at this point. He's done it all. So it's going to be a fun main event if and when it happens. But Randy Orton's not the guy. The Rock, I don't even think is the guy either. I was a bit disappointed. I was waiting for it, and I hang my head in shame, in predictable shame, calling that The Rock was going to be the one to come out at the end, and I was waiting for it. There was that long pause when the referee got bumped, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm waiting for Randy's music to hit, The Rock's music to hit, and I was waiting because the announcers went silent, and everyone went silent. I'm like, oh, here we go, and nothing. It was just fireworks go off. It's just, Groundhog Day all over again. I mean, how many times are we going to see this? How many times are we going to see Roman Reigns stand there, hold his two belts up, fireworks go off? It's exactly what happened with the same finish that we've seen for 2.5 years. So if you want to be mad about something, that is something to be mad about. I mean, they have continued. This is the same finish. Of course, not exact, but the principle of the finish, the method of the finish is the same almost always. So it is getting to say it's tiresome is also a bit of a understatement, but that you could get angry at the company for and angry at, whoever you want at. That's a legitimate complaint. But beyond the 1,000 days, as I've said, there is more to tell with Roman as champion. He can claim he's the head of the table. Now, he can claim that the loss of the Usos, their tag belts, puts more pressure on him. So he's going to circle it back to somehow this being about him and fracturing the Usos' loyalty to him even further, specifically Jey Uso. That's going to be a fun story to tell. And again, you could eventually get back to Sami and Reigns if you want. You could get back to Sami, or rather Kevin and Roman, I guess. They probably won't, but you could. But the more likely is Randy Orton, who has a legitimate beef with the bloodline, if you remember from last May. So that's the most likely. And of course, The Rock, who teased it on Twitter, and then that was that. So that is really the two big contenders. And don't forget to, apparently there is a report out there, I think it was through Sportskeeda, that Triple H has a massive return planned for the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. So as you listen to this, maybe you've already watched Raw, or you're about to tune into Raw, or you haven't seen Raw, but that is the report. Now take that with a grain of salt. Okay. I have been burned for, sadly, embarrassingly, months, really years at this point, predicting a Rock return. I mean, because there have been countless opportunities that have been perfect for The Rock to return, and he doesn't. And we think it's The Rock, and it's not The Rock, right? And he's going to come. Oh, he's not going to come. He's too busy. We've heard it for, this is plural, years. So, that said, I am done, completely done predicting The Rock will return, unless it is so obvious that I can't not say it because I'd look like a fool if I didn't, and I can just jump on the bandwagon of others. That's the only time that I'm going to say that The Rock is returning, okay? I'm not going to try to be cute or clever or the smartest guy in the room anymore. That time has come and gone, so I'm just putting that out there. I am done and hang my head in great shame. I know I dishonor my family with all of the times that I have predicted this. So there, I'm done. So, all right. So could The Rock come back tomorrow night? Sure, but I'm not predicting it. That said, could the other big return be Randy Orton? Yes, there were reports that he did land in LA, and people thought he was going to come out at some point in the pay-per-view, and he didn't. And by the way, no Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's also a bit of a surprise. I thought LA Knight and him would have some kind of interaction, or The Miz and Stone Cold would. It was a perfect setup for Stone Cold, but I don't hate it. You know, that makes it more special when he does come, and he doesn't have to be a part of every WrestleMania, you know, and I think that still leaves the door open for him to have a match at WrestleMania 40. Gives him a whole year to prepare if he wants to. The whole thing with this year was, the proposal originally was Stone Cold versus Brock Lesnar, and that didn't happen for one reason or another. But that was the proposal to Stone Cold, and maybe he didn't feel like he can get into shape in time or prepare his body and mind. Well, guess what? You got a full year now if you want to go that road. I'm just shooting at the wind, right? I have no idea what's going to happen a year out. But with WrestleMania 40, again, nice round number. They do big things on big numbers. What did they do last WrestleMania that had a nice round number of 30? Remember that? You might be old enough to remember. Yeah, Undertaker lost to Brock Lesnar. All right, the streak ended at that WrestleMania in a very controversial fashion. But my point is, getting back to this WrestleMania, the other thing, it just generally for announcers, Michael Cole seems to have a real problem with this. And before I criticize him on this, I want to just give him mad props. How old am I? Do we still say this at 38 years old? I don't know. The 25-year-old is coming out in me. I want to give Michael Cole mad props, along with Corey Graves. They did generally an amazing job. Michael Cole's genuine excitement was coming through. It wasn't a manufactured pro wrestling announcer. He was just a fan calling the action, and that's the way it came across. So I really his excitement got me excited. And I loved it. There were times where I was kind of like watching a match and things would happen, and I felt like I should be more excited, and Cole would be excited, and then I'm like, oh, that kind of osmosis of excitement came to me, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I guess I should be excited. And he did a great job, and his voice was starting to go. You could hear him at the beginning of night 2, and he's cracking. I'm like, oh boy, he's not going to make it through the show because he was yelling all night the night before. But he did a great job. He hung in there, and Michael Cole is an underappreciated voice in wrestling. He really is, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that he came off the heels and of a all-time great in Jim Ross. There's a lot of just resentment from fans, even though he had nothing to do with it. But so that praise, well deserved for Michael Cole and Corey Graves too. Now, here comes something that I just want to erase from all language of pro wrestling announcers, like banned phrases. If you say this phrase, you are immediately fired, no questions asked, pack your bags, walk off the set, walk off TV, and go home. All right. Ready for this following phrase? And it's variations of this phrase. And oh my God, we're going to have a new champion. Does that sound familiar to you? He's going to win the title. Can we please vanquish this phrase and all of the like from pro wrestling? Stricken it, blackball it, light it on fire. Why? Some of you may not understand why. When was the last time you heard an announcer say something of that ilk and that actually happened seconds later? A finish, so in other words, somebody hits a finish, babyface or heel hits a finish, and they go for the cover, and the referee is about to cover, and the announcers spoil it by saying we're gonna have a new champion. Stop. Because 99.9% of the time, maybe even 100% of the time, it doesn't happen. In fact, the exact opposite is about to happen, which cues me not to get excited, because now you are telling me what's going to happen, which obviously pro wrestling announcers don't do. So now I'm supposed to just look at the opposite and go, oh, well, that's going to happen, because you're supposed to you're supposed to then, look at it and go and be in shock that your prediction didn't happen, right? I hear it and I want to scream, because it takes me instantly out of the moment and all the excitement that I had built up. When Cole says that, he's had a bad habit of it lately. But other than that, I just praised him, but that's one thing I can't stand that him or anyone says. So I just wanted to put that gripe out there because it's legitimate. You do all this build and you have a false finish and you have the announcer tell you that a new champion's about to be crowned or be retained or whatever. And instantly in that moment, it gets like a big, just your whole balloon gets deflated. That's how I feel anyway. But I want to get to more positive stuff here. This was the right call, guys. This was the right call. Roman Reigns retaining, whether you like it or not, was the right choice. You could argue if Sami was in this spot, maybe there's a stronger argument because of the connection that he has with fans. That's stronger than any wrestler right now. But it was the right choice, especially for bringing in Randy or eventually The Rock, right? And untold stories with Jey Uso and others. So, and as I said last night, the fact that you also need to look at this through a business lens, not just a creative excitement lens of what would get the fans screaming at the end of the show and make them feel good. No, yeah, Cody winning, right? It would set the internet ablaze. New champion, finally dethroned. That's a short-term thinking pattern, because you can't make the argument that Cody Rhodes winning is a better business decision when you have a proven money-making machine in Roman Reigns. From ratings to merchandise, he's a cash cow for WWE. So going with Cody Rhodes, an unproven champion in WWE at the world title level, you're taking a massive risk. And I don't blame WWE, not just from creative, but also most importantly, business. Money. They made the right call. I know many of you are disappointed, thinking this is a bad call. I really don't think it is. Right? Cody Rhodes is main event. He's proven that. He did an excellent job. His emotions. The pacing of the match was good. Again, a bit overbooked with the Usos, a bit overbooked with Solo Sikoa getting ejected or interfering, getting ejected, coming back, Samoan Spike, 3 crossroads, but Roman didn't sell 2 of them. Kick out after kick out of finishes constantly. Like you could gripe about that, no doubt. But even with those gripes intact, I think the main event still delivered because it happened at a pace that was digestible. It happened, not in a flip-flop and fly fireworks fashion. Every stage of that finish you could follow and understand, even if you thought it was overbooked or you thought that it was too much. Like, can we just get to the finish? You still understood where they were going or what could happen, and it left you up in the air and all that, no doubt. And there were times I thought Cody was going to win. They made me believe. They really did, no doubt. Like, for example, when we had the Usos come in and then Kevin and Sami came in to even the odds, I didn't think they were going to interact with Roman, then just ignore them and brawl with the Usos outside the ring and through the crowd and then disappear into the ether. They actually hit their finishes. Both of them hit their finish on Roman. And then when the referee came back too and Cody came too and he put his arm over Roman, I said, holy, right. I go here. My eyes actually got big and I go, this could be real. That to me was the most believable spot, and it was the perfect kick out by Roman. It was the weakest, saddest kick out, but it needed to be. It was perfect. It was perfect. That was the closest anyone has come to beating Roman Reigns, was in that moment. But think about it. If Cody had won that moment, right, that would mean that he won off of the hands of another 2 others, and that he didn't get it done by himself. Do you really want your babyface champion that just dethroned the longest champion in 50 years winning by the hands of another's actions? Not the most credible, especially when you're in the main event for the first time, right? So, made sense there, but believable near fall. I mean, you're not really thinking that in the moment. You're just going, oh my God, he could win. But in hindsight, you're like, yeah, that would have been a bad call from a character development perspective and fan respect perspective on Cody Rhodes. So anyway, I'll wrap up the main event here because I could talk about it all night and just say, well done by all. Certainly there are gripes, commentator gripes. Nothing's perfect. Yeah, was it a bit overbooked? Sure. But it didn't, I think, ultimately take away from the decision that made sense. And I am still sulking and bringing great shame to my house. My kids will grow up knowing that I, myself, ran a podcast at one time and had to retire because of the shame and the guilt and just the embarrassment that I brought to our entire family name. So I am done with The Rock until I hear, if you smell, we're done. All right. Okay, let's move on. So Brock and Omos. I think that's a perfect way to start off the show. Perfect way. Why? Number one, it's a big time star, just like they did with John Cena the night before. And they don't have anything else at that for that night yet to compare it to. The crowd's fresh. You know they're not going to have a long match with these two. And it's not going to look good if you put Brock and Omos, say, after Edge and Finn Balor, right? Not going to look good. You need to get them when they're fresh and they're hot and they're attentive. And that's what they did, because you're not going to get a 5-star classic from these two. And it was short and it was sweet and it was the exact story that you thought they were going to tell. And a couple of Germans and an F5 later, which was still fun to see. No kick out of the F5, which was surprising. 1, 2, 3, Brock wins. Great. Perfect. Omos, I mean, he was expected to lose by most, not all. And he should have lost. But I tweeted this out. I said, hey, can someone calculate what Brock's rate per minute is? I mean, is somebody paying Brock by the minute? Because if they are, I mean, they that's why they only gave Brock 4 minutes or whatever it was, something crazy. Brock gets paid millions to come in, throw a couple of Germans, and then hit an F5 and walk out. I mean, it was like a Goldberg match, but Brock Lesnar was the name. I didn't hate it. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to do collar and elbow tie-ups, so they can do wrist locks, right? I mean, come on. They can't. That's not the style. That would have been ridiculous. This match is exactly what it needed to be. I'm just laughing at how much money they pay Brock for how little he's actually in the ring. It's insane. So fine, right? Like I really don't have that big of a gripe with the length of this match. Really, anything about it. It got the crowd going. It got them into the show, ready to go. Massive star, and that was that. So, all right. I just thought Brock would be more involved. So let's move on here. Again, the match was under 5 minutes. Next match was Ronda Rousey and Shayna versus Raquel and Liv, Natalya and Shotzi, and Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville in a fatal 4-way showcase match, tag team showcase match. This was, I don't know. The problem is we also had the previous night, where the fatal 4-way men's tag team match, showcase match, blew everyone out of the water of expectations. This was this they easily could have had on SmackDown. I mean, in terms of quality, it was okay. I don't think that was the effort that was lacking. It was just the chemistry, the physicality, and I don't mean that they were just being soft with each other. But when you have seen smash mouth people killing each other for the last day and a half, this kind of came off like your typical SmackDown match, throwaway tag team match. I mean, it just did. The biggest part of this really was the lack of involvement of Ronda Rousey and Shayna, which was by design, but I also wonder if it was also to protect Ronda's weaknesses of being able to have any kind of lengthy match. I don't know. But it was to just continue to push them as heels. They get the victory. And they are clearly now in line to face Lita and Becky. So at Backlash, you could project out here, Ronda and Shayna are going to face Lita and Becky for the women's tag team titles. And I think they'll probably win because I don't see Lita sticking around for much longer at all. So, I mean, I don't know. This was meh. It was okay. I'll just leave it at that. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of eh. All right. Next. Gunther, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, IC title. My God. I was going to put an over-under on the number of chops that these men were going to hit with each other. And I just... I don't even know what that number would have been, but it wouldn't have been anywhere near the number that they gave each other, which must have been hundreds. I mean, holy crap. These guys beat the holy S out of each other in almost an uncomfortable way with the number of chops and bleeding. Like when you bleed through your skin from chops, do you know how hard you have to be hit to bleed through your skin from being chopped? It's, oh my God. I mean, oh my God. It's insane. And good for them. Gunther held his own, coming in at the right time, and taking advantage of the situation. The near falls from Sheamus and Drew were both believable, with both the Brogue kick and the Claymore being kicked out of. Again, it's WrestleMania. This is when finishes are allowed to be kicked out of. But to reiterate, they do this throughout the year, so it doesn't mean as much. It was physical as hell. It was back to business in this match after kind of a soft tag team match with the women. Back to business. And Gunther retains and beats, notably, pins Drew McIntyre. Doesn't pin Sheamus. I thought Sheamus was going to take the fall, but the right person won here. And overall for WrestleMania, I think they made the right booking decisions. I think for me, I mean, I might have missed like one prediction in terms of what I thought they were going to do. But that's not me bragging. It's just what I thought they should do in terms of, the right decision, not necessarily even what I wanted. But WWE has continued to put faith in Gunther, and they should. He's a world champion in the making. And they should do everything they can to prepare him so when he eventually drops the IC title, they can just sling him right into the world title picture where he belongs. Maybe sometime this year, maybe not till 2024 when he wins the Rumble. Maybe he wins the Rumble in 24. But then again, who knows what's going to happen with Mr. MJF? Who knows? I mean, months away, right? All right. Great match, though. My God. So, all right. Next, Bianca Belair versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. The video for this was hilarious because they had nothing to build this on. Except like 1 week promo between the two. Like, that's it. They had nothing. Even the promo, the brilliant video editors that WWE hires couldn't really save this match. They couldn't even fabricate something from, whole cloth. They had to just throw together whatever was there. And even the video package didn't get me excited at all. And the entrances, as always, a WrestleMania-esque with, they had it was some kind of youth group where it was some youth dance group for inner city girls and for Bianca's entrance, which was cool. They did a great job. Really good job. I mean, they killed it. And I enjoyed that. They were very in sync, and it was a perfect entrance for Bianca and having her come to the ring. And the only thing I have, and some people may take this the wrong way, or, I'm sure I'll be labeled with a whole bunch of different things as society likes to do today, but this is just the truth. And I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Bianca is a grown woman. She's a grown ass, mature woman, you'd imagine in real life. She seems to be. Accomplished athlete. Probably the best pure athlete WWE has from a woman's perspective. I mean, she's so good, so strong. But when she comes to the ring twirling her hair, and I know you guys know I'm going to tell you this, but it needs to be said. When you're like, that's all. The thing is, she does this all the time. Like, that's her thing. That's her go-to. It's almost like a nervous tick. But she thinks it's her thing, and her hair braid is her marketing. I don't know. So she constantly is twirling it around. She skips to the ring like she's at recess in elementary school. I mean, I know that some of you find it entertaining, and she's just having fun on her way to the ring. She's a grown woman. people don't skip to the ring in a boxing match, right? If this is a competitive sport, which we're supposed to believe it is, right? At least in presentation, I don't need the woman who's the champion defending her title to be skipping to the ring like she's on her way to get ice cream on a summer afternoon with her grandma. All right. I don't know where I'm coming up with this crap, guys. It's late. So bear with me. I just think it takes away from me being able to take Bianca seriously. When the bell rings, she's all business, and it's fine. But I think in presentation, she's eventually going to have to tone that down a little bit. She's a grown woman acting like a child on the way to the ring. And I don't think it comes across, I don't even want to say not professional, just, I guess, a little bit juvenile. Maybe that's the best word. But some of you love it, and up until recently, I didn't hate it, but it's starting to wear on me. And if it was a heel thing, maybe I wouldn't dislike it as much, but let's get to the match. Match was good. As expected, it was really good. And we had Bianca beat Asuka in 16 minutes, and it was a clean finish. Asuka tried to hit the mist, but it missed. And then Belair went for the KOD. Asuka slipped away, put her in an armbar, and Bianca powered up Asuka to hit the KOD. And Bianca wins. No heel turn, no funky business. Honestly, no big returns or big heel turns of any kind, which is a bit kind of odd. But all right. So really good match overall. I don't think it is something I want to see again because the story was so weak. But all right. Let's go. We got Shane McMahon versus The Miz, and he injured himself very quickly. And that's when Snoop came in, as I mentioned, and did his thing. I already talked about this, and Snoop Dogg beat The Miz in 2 minutes. And there was a report out there, so I'm not going to take credit for this, but there's a report out there on the pay-per-view tonight where saying that of all the crazy crap that Shane has done over the years, it was a leapfrog that did him in, right? Of all the stuff Shane McMahon has thrown himself off of and put his body through and come out with just bumps and bruises, a leapfrog is the one that, that finally does him in. Hilarious, but also sad, and we wish you the best, Shano. But so think about that. Now, I could harken back to Triple H 2001 when he tore his quad, and he goes through all those hellacious matches with Mick Foley and all that, Hell in a Cell, and what does him in is just being hit or hitting someone and just plants his knee wrong. It's usually the simple crap that does you in. So it is kind of funny in a sadistic way that a leapfrog did Shane McMahon in after everything he's done. Anyway, so let's move on. We've got Edge versus Finn Balor, Hell in a Cell. What I really liked about this, the most important part to me, is that they took away the red cell. It's just regular chain link fence. No gimmicked cell. I don't need the cell representing the color of blood. Okay, it was just the kind of silver coated regular color of chain link that you expect, and I really appreciated that. And this was good. Okay, there were some spots by Edge with tables that were really good. He leaned a table up against Hell in a Cell and eventually got put through it. And Edge also threw a ladder at Balor, who ended up getting cut the hard way with that ladder, and they had a bit of a brief stoppage. And that's when Edge went back to ringside, pulled out another table, and then he set that inside the ring while Balor was down in the corner. And then Balor got up and blasted Edge with 4 kendo stick shots and put him on the table. And then Balor beat Edge with the red chair. I like the red chair idea. I'm cool with just the one small object being red, but not the whole damn cell. So then we got Balor teasing going up to the top rope and then leaped onto the cage, and Balor climbed halfway up the cage and leapt on or was attempting a coup de grace, and Edge moved and Balor stomped himself through the table. And then Edge traded the kendo stick for the red chair and beat Balor with it. and Edge placed Balor's head over the red chair, and Edge rolled to ringside, brought back in a second chair, and delivered a concerto for the victory. Really good. Really good here. I had no problem with Edge winning. Edge, he needs to put this rivalry to rest. I know that some of you are like, well, Edge is going to go away, and you're going to have Finn Balor left in the Judgment Day. Finn Balor can talk himself back into heat really quickly. He's in a group that's red hot right now in the Judgment Day. There's no problem here. And Finn Balor is not a guy on the rise. He's a guy that's still in the prime of his career. He can bounce back quickly. He's not going to be damaged by this. He's working with Edge. No problem. Okay. If you're worried about protecting the Demon character, that character got squashed a while ago by The Fiend. Okay. Gone. So the fact that character is undefeated is not a thing anymore. And these two worked very well together, as you knew they would. But for the love of all that is holy, please let this be the final match between these two. Please. As good as they are together and as good as they are individually and the respect that the fans have for them, it's over. And it's got to be. That's what Hell in a Cell is designed for. This is a perfect example of how you end rivalries that are deserving of the cell. Is this. There's no Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. The stipulation needs to go back to what it was meant to be. So, really good stuff here. I had no problem with this. So, all right. I hope this, by the way, people are asking if this is Edge's last WrestleMania match. I don't know. I would imagine no. But I would imagine that he's going to try to string it together for a career for one more year and then call it, and say, I'm done. I'm just going to enjoy my life and have, the rest of my days with my family or whatever. I would imagine WrestleMania 40 in Philly. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. I hope John Cena and Edge end it at WrestleMania 40. But who knows? This could be Edge's last final WrestleMania. It could be. We got to take every time Edge is in the ring as a precious thing, because before you know it, it'll be gone, and we'll be wondering what happened and dissecting his career and wishing he was back in the ring and all that kind of thing. So, all right, we then got a video for WrestleMania 40 for 2024. It's going to be held in Philly at the Lincoln Financial Field. So that was cool. Seeing that WrestleMania 40. My God, WrestleMania 40. That's so crazy. So overall, Night 2, was it as good as Night 1? No, but that's not a slight on Night 2. There were just some wonky things that happened in Night 2, some matches that weren't as good as Night 1, and I really didn't expect it to be. It's really hard to follow that, almost impossible, right? If you look at it as a whole from last night, almost impossible to follow that tonight, almost unfairly, impossible. So, but if you just took this on its own, you'd still say, well, really good show, right? And WrestleMania as a whole, maybe one of the best WrestleManias of all time. Maybe not the biggest stars, right? Or maybe the most intriguing storylines when you compare it to some of years past from 10, 20 years ago. But when you look at it from just a wrestling perspective, in-ring product, I'd put this against almost any WrestleMania. And that's what made this so good. And that's what the talents can do in ring. When they maybe don't have control over where the WWE is going to go with them creatively, they can tell their own story in the ring and make a case for themselves in the ring and show the crowd and show management what they're capable of. And that's what we saw here. So it was a wrestling clinic, by and large, a wrestling clinic that we saw at WrestleMania 39. I really enjoyed WrestleMania 39, and it makes me wonder what they're doing for the Raw After Mania. I know last year's Raw After Mania, I remember it was just womp, womp, womp. It was just, I don't know. It felt very underwhelming last year. Like they forgot they had a Raw, and they threw it together like as it was happening. This year, I would hope that it's different, and it seems like it will be. So Triple H seemed, if Vince doesn't have any creative say in this, it seems to be like I would give Triple H an A, for this WrestleMania. I would. From a grade of A+ to an F, I would say A. Okay, A, is a solid grade. Because I'm sure Triple H, Paul Levesque is really being concerned about when I upload this episode to give him a final grade. I want to let you know, Paul, you get an A from me, so you get to keep your job. Anyway. Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania should be a hotter show than last year. I do expect some big returns. It's typical that big returns or call-ups from NXT happen, or, just kind of people that have been thrown out there in the ether that are coming back, like maybe LA Knight makes a return. Maybe Big E makes a return tomorrow night. Randy Orton is very likely. The Rock, I'm not even going to go there. So certainly tomorrow night should be very fun. See where they're going for Backlash. It's just called Backlash this year, I believe. So, standing ovation for that. And then we're off to Saudi Arabia at the end of May. So we're going to be very quickly rolling out of WrestleMania season. We're already out of it technically, and we're going into Backlash, and tomorrow night should be a whole lot of fun. Hopefully the crowd is super hot, and I have no reason to believe it won't be. So everybody, thank you so much for joining me. If you want to join us ad-free, you can do so on patreon.com/WWE podcast. Get yourself in the door, get yourself ad-free. And you can also do us a favor by giving us a 5-star rating if you want to do that, or join us on Apple Podcasts going ad-free that ad-free subscribe button is available to you, or wwepodcast.com. Go VIP there. Whew, that does it for me. I need sleep, guys. It's almost 1 a.m. where I am right now on the East Coast here in the United States, so I need to hit the hay. I'm exhausted. I'm sure you are too. Enjoy Monday Night Raw. We're about to head into a very interesting time in WWE as we kind of wrap up and analyze what they did at WrestleMania and look forward to the Backlash event, Saudi event, and yes, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, and my God, WrestleMania next year, right? Some people are already projecting out. So it never ends. The cycle never ends. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.